Welcome to Ascension HFY Extra, the ultimate destination for all things UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the mysteries of the universe. Here, we dive deep into the unknown, unraveling the secrets of the cosmos that have fascinated humanity for centuries. From chilling UFO encounters to mind-blowing alien technologies, we bring you stories that will challenge your perception of reality and ignite your curiosity about what lies beyond the stars. On this channel, we explore some of the most intriguing and unexplained phenomena, including encounters with beings from other worlds, government cover-ups, and the hidden truths that have been kept from the public eye. We don't just scratch the surface, we go deep into the mysteries of the universe, investigating the possibilities of extraterrestrial life, ancient civilizations, and the technologies that could change our world forever. Our content is designed to spark your imagination and invite you into a world of mystery and intrigue. Each video offers fresh insights, intriguing stories, and thought-provoking questions that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about life beyond Earth. But we don't stop there. We want to hear from you. What do you think is out there in the vast reaches of space? Do you believe that aliens have visited Earth? What do you think the future holds for humanity in our quest to uncover the secrets of the cosmos? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below, and join our growing community of explorers. Hit that subscribe button, and don't miss out on our latest videos that delve into the fascinating world of UFOs, alien encounters, and the truth that might be waiting for us in the stars. Get ready for a journey of discovery, because the universe is full of surprises, and Ascension HFY Extra is here to explore them all with you. The bridge of the Kian command ship was suffused with a cold, unnatural glow. 1,000 blinking lights danced in synchrony, reflecting the advanced technology of the Kian Empire. Massive monitors lined the walls, flickering with data and analysis from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. At the helm sat Supreme Commander Zarak, his four piercing eyes narrowed in cold concentration, as the tense silence of the command deck grew heavier with every passing second. Zarak was not a being known for patience. His species had dominated countless galaxies, crushed weaker civilizations, and maintained an iron grip over the stars. And yet, today, his hands clenched around the armrests of his command chair, knuckles whitening under the strain. Lieutenant Vex, the bridge officer closest to him, stood rigid at attention. Her violet skin flushed a deeper shade of purple. She could feel the tension radiating off Zarak, but she dared not speak until spoken to. "Commander," she began cautiously, her voice laced with unease. "We have just received the latest transmission from Earth." She glanced at the massive screen before them, where an image of a woman, appeared. Admiral Tessa Monroe stood at attention, her auburn hair cut sharply, her eyes the color of deep oceans. Zoris's nostrils flared as he recalled the transmission, his thoughts swirling with contempt and disbelief. The human representative had responded to their declaration of war with not terror, not the trembling fear they had expected, but laughter. Yes, laughter. A mocking, derisive laugh, echoing across the empty void of space as though it were nothing more than an insignificant jest. Monroe's voice, confident and almost amused, filled the room. "Let me get this straight," she said, not even attempting to hide the smirk tugging at the corners of her lips. "You, the mighty Kian Empire, are declaring war on humanity because we refuse to give you exclusive mining rights to an uninhabited rock at the edge of our solar system?" The transmission played again, louder now, filling the bridge with Monroe's words. Zoris's four eyes blinked rapidly in response, a sign of deep agitation, something rare for his species. The audacity, he thought, the disrespect. His lower appendages, massive, strong limbs used for both battle and command, gripped the arms of his chair so tightly that the reinforced metal began to groan under the pressure. Monroe's voice echoed in Zoris's ears. "We have been watching you. You know," she continued, as though explaining the obvious. "For the past 1,000 years, we've monitored your communications, studied your technology, and analyzed your tactics. The treaty wasn't for our protection, Commander. It was for yours." Zoris's secondary heart began to palpitate, a sudden spike of discomfort running through his vast, alien body. The words, those infuriating words, clawed at his pride. How dare they speak to him, to the Kian Empire, in such a manner? "She's bluffing," muttered Science Officer Krell, her voice barely audible as the Kian officers exchanged confused glances. But even Krell could not mask the sense of unease that hung thick in the air. "She is bluffing, right?" Zarak growled, turning to Lurer, the director of intelligence. "Explain this. Why are they not cowering before us? Why aren't they begging for mercy? We are the Kian Empire." Lurer stepped forward, his exoskeleton clicking nervously as he consulted the datapad in his hand. "Our intelligence on humans is limited, Commander," he admitted. "The treaty kept us 5 light years away from their system for 1,000 years. We know they were primitive when we first encountered them. Their weapons were chemical-based. Their medicine still crude, but they were not without potential. We've detected unusual energy readings over the centuries." But, his voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping in. Zoracy's anger flared. "Impossible," he roared. "In just 1,000 years? We took 15,000 years to achieve interstellar travel. No species advances that quickly." He looked to Fleet Admiral Dex, an officer who had long been by his side. "What do you think?" Dex's facial tentacles, normally poised in quiet dignity, now wriggled in a rare sign of concern. "Perhaps, Commander, we should send a scout ship," she suggested cautiously. "Assess their capabilities before we proceed with full invasion." Zoracy's expression hardened. "Cowardice," he spat. "We are Kian. We do not scout. We conquer. We will remind them what it means to face the might of the Kian Empire." His voice boomed, reverberating through the cold metal walls of the command bridge. Turning back to the screen, Zarak saw Monroe's face once more. Still smirking, still unafraid. "One more thing," she said, almost too casually. "When you come, bring something interesting. We've been stuck in this solar system for 1,000 years, with nothing to do but prepare for your return. We are really looking forward to seeing what you've got." As the transmission ended, the weight of her words hung in the air. Zarak felt a strange sensation, something he had not experienced in centuries. Doubt. It gnawed at him, as unwelcome as it was unfamiliar. Could the humans truly be so prepared? Zarak leaned back in his chair, his massive form casting a long shadow across the bridge. He glanced at his officers, who were still grappling with the implications of what they had just witnessed. "Prepare the armada," Zarak bellowed, his voice like a rolling storm, filled with raw fury. "We will darken their skies, boil their oceans, and show these humans their place. The treaty has expired. Now, they will learn what it means to face the might of the Kian Empire." The bridge officers scrambled to their stations, a flurry of activity as the Kian fleet was mobilized. But in the midst of it all, Fleet Admiral Dex stood frozen, her thoughts clearly elsewhere. She had been with Zarak for countless campaigns. And yet, today, she sensed an unease within him. "Commander," Dex said slowly, her tone almost apologetic, "there's still time to reassess. Perhaps we should consider the possibility that the humans have indeed advanced. A single misstep could lead to our downfall." Zoracy's eyes narrowed, his sharp gaze piercing through the dimly lit bridge. "Enough," he commanded. "We will not falter. The Kian Empire is the most powerful force the galaxy has ever known. We will remind them of that." His voice grew quieter as he turned away from the chaos of the bridge. "The humans," he muttered to himself. "They think we are the ones who should be afraid. They think we will be the ones to bend the knee." Director Lurer, still uneasy, approached cautiously. "Commander, we may have underestimated them," he said softly, his words carrying an unfamiliar weight. "We know they've been preparing for centuries. But we have never truly understood what they are capable of. We only know them through ancient reports. There's more to this than we can see." Zoracy's eyes flicked to Lurer, a hint of impatience crossing his face. "No," he declared firmly. "The time for doubt is over. We shall conquer, and then we will have the answers. Full mobilization now. Lurer, we will show the humans the might of the Kian Empire." And with that, the order was given. The Kian fleet, an unstoppable force of destruction, began its march toward the solar system. A swarm of ships stretching across light years, the darkness of space its canvas. But in the quiet of the command bridge, Zoracy's mind churned with a singular question. Why was she not afraid? Why did they not tremble before the Kian Empire? As the Kian armada surged forward through the vast expanse of space, the dark emptiness of the cosmos stretched endlessly before them. The quiet hum of their mighty warships reverberated through the hulls, each ship a silent titan in a swarm of destruction. The Armada, with its 100,000 warships, moved in a perfect formation, each vessel a symbol of the Qian Empire's power and ruthlessness. Supreme Commander Zarak, towering in his command chair, stared ahead through the large viewport. His 4 eyes narrowed in focus as the blue and white jewel of Earth grew larger in the distance, its presence drawing closer with every passing moment. The moment had finally arrived, the time to make the humans cower before the might of the Qian Empire. Yet, even as Zorasi's mind raced with thoughts of victory, an odd sense of unease prickled at the edges of his consciousness. He tried to shake it off. After all, the humans were still primitive. Their resources were limited. What could they possibly do against the unstoppable force of the Qian Armada? Science Officer Krell, perched at her station on the far side of the bridge, was the first to break the silence. Her antennae twitched slightly as her fingers moved rapidly over the control panel. Her voice, quiet but tense, cut through the still air. "Commander," she said, glancing up at Zarak with an air of concern, "I'm detecting unusual readings from Saturn's rings. They don't align with known orbital mechanics." Zarak barely spared her a glance, dismissing her report with a flick of his hand. "Saturn's rings are nothing but cosmic dust and debris," he said confidently, his voice dismissive. "There is no need for concern. Officer Krell, prepare the fleet for the final approach." But Krell didn't seem convinced. Her exoskeleton clicked nervously as she pressed her hands against her control panel, her eyes widening in disbelief. "I have never seen anything like this. Commander, I'm seeing." Before she could finish her sentence, the entire bridge seemed to hum with a sudden, intense energy. A tremor ran through the ship, and Zorasi's gaze shifted sharply back to Krell's station. He could see it now. Something was happening to the rings. What had once been a seemingly static field of ice and rock was now beginning to shift, as though the rings themselves were alive. "They're moving," Krell whispered, her voice barely audible, as if she were speaking to herself. "Sections of Saturn's rings are changing position, against all laws of orbital mechanics." Zorasi's eyes widened. He stood from his chair, his massive form towering above the officers as his 4 eyes blinked rapidly, his antennae twitching with agitation. "Explain yourself, Krell," he barked. Before she could respond, the entire command bridge erupted into chaos. The sound of alarm bells and the crackling of static filled the air. The rings of Saturn, those cold, lifeless fragments, were no longer inert. They were alive, shifting in ways that defied comprehension. Krell's voice quivered with disbelief as she stammered. "The rings, they're not ice and rock. They're ships, Commander. Hundreds, no, billions of ships. Hidden within the rings. They've been disguised, perfectly disguised." Zorasi's 4 eyes blinked, one after another, faster now, each one displaying a deeper sense of shock. He stepped forward, his massive form dwarfing the bridge. He pressed his face close to the viewport, staring at the strange phenomenon unfolding before him. From the once still rings of Saturn, millions of vessels began to emerge, their shapes sleek and ominous, their hulls gleaming under the distant light of the sun. The ships moved with terrifying precision, unfolding like a massive swarm. They were human ships, sleek, efficient, their forms unlike anything Zarak had ever seen before. "Impossible," Zarak muttered under his breath, his heart hammering in his chest. How did they hide so many ships within their rings? At that moment, the transmission from Earth came through again, as clear and confident as ever. Admiral Tessa Monroe appeared on the screen once more, her face now more familiar, her smug smile still present, like a cat taunting its prey. The sound of her voice sent a shiver down Zorasi's spine, even as he tried to maintain his composure. "Commander Zarak," Monroe's voice came through, calm and almost mocking. "I see you've finally discovered our little secret. Welcome to Earth." She tilted her head slightly, her eyes glinting with a knowing amusement. "I thought we'd save you the trouble of finding us." Zorasi's jaw clenched, his 4 eyes narrowing dangerously. How much did they know? The humans had outplayed him at every turn, hiding in plain sight for centuries. But what was truly terrifying wasn't their ability to hide ships within the very fabric of Saturn, it was their attitude. They were not afraid, they were waiting. Monroe continued, her voice almost playful. "You've been watching us for 1,000 years. Commander, we've been watching you, too." She paused, a slight chuckle escaping her lips. "Let me ask you a question. When did you start taking us seriously?" The transmission ended abruptly, and Zarak felt the weight of her words sink deep into his bones. She had known. She had always known. His voice grew quieter as he turned away from the chaos of the bridge. "The humans," he muttered to himself. "They think we are the ones who should be afraid. They think we will be the ones to bend the knee." Director Lurer, still uneasy, approached cautiously. "Commander, we may have underestimated them," he said softly, his words carrying an unfamiliar weight. "We know they've been preparing for centuries. But we have never truly understood what they are capable of. We only know them through ancient reports. There's more to this than we can see." Zorasi's eyes flicked to Lurer, a hint of impatience crossing his face. "No," he declared firmly. "The time for doubt is over. We shall conquer. And then we will have the answers. Full mobilization now. Lurer, we will show the humans the might of the Kian Empire." And with that, the order was given. The Kian fleet, an unstoppable force of destruction, began its march toward the solar system. A swarm of ships stretching across light years. The darkness of space its canvas. But in the quiet of the command bridge, Zorasi's mind churned with a singular question. Why was she not afraid? Why did they not tremble before the Kian Empire? The silence that followed was shattered by the deafening roar of weapon systems powering up. Zorasi's eyes burned with fury as he gave the order. "Fire! All ships! Fire on their fleet! We will show them what it means to challenge the Kian Empire." The Kian Armada unleashed a torrent of energy beams, bright and violent, lighting up the cold expanse of space. Hundreds of thousands of plasma blasts shot out from the Kian warships, flooding the void of space like deadly waves crashing against the shore. The ships that emerged from Saturn's rings were no match for the overwhelming firepower of the Kian Empire. But something incredible happened. The human ships, all of them, moved. Not in the way a traditional fleet would, in straight lines or defensive formations. No, these ships, autonomous, agile, alive in their own way, moved with impossible precision, dancing through the barrage of energy beams. They twisted, turned, and darted through the Kian's onslaught with such grace and speed that the beams missed entirely. They didn't just evade the attack, they dodged with an eerie perfection, as though the ships were anticipating each blast before it even came. Zorasi's fury intensified. Fire again, full power. His voice shook with anger, his enormous form trembling with a primal urge to destroy. But still, the human ships avoided the blasts, effortlessly. Monroe's voice came through once more, this time with an edge of warning, as though she were speaking to a child. "You see, Commander, we've been developing these ships for centuries. They're fully autonomous, AI-controlled. They're not just evasive, they're smart. We've run countless combat simulations against Kian tactics for the last 900 years. And I must say, we've learned quite a bit about how to deal with your kind." The realization hit Zarak like a physical blow. These ships, these AI-controlled ships, weren't just vessels. They were extensions of the humans themselves, made to think, adapt, and move with such speed and precision that they were nearly unbeatable. Before Zarak could react, the human ships launched their next move. A small group of them, no larger than shuttles, insignificant compared to the Kian warships, accelerated toward the Kian fleet. Zorasi's eyes widened in disbelief. What could such small ships do? Without warning, the human ships phased through the Kian's defensive shields, as though the very concept of solid matter had no hold over them. They passed through the massive warships as if they were ghostly apparitions, their forms flickering and shifting between states of matter. And in mere moments, the Kian ships, 20 in total, disintegrated, their metal and electronics breaking down into nothingness at the molecular level. "Impossible," Zarak gasped. They're disintegrating us." Monroe's voice echoed in the background, her tone almost apologetic. "This is just a small demonstration of our capabilities. Our ships can phase through matter, bypass your defenses, and attack your ships at the atomic level. We call it matter phase shift technology. We figured it out while studying quantum mechanics." Her voice dropped slightly, as if savoring the moment. "It's hard to defend against something that can just ignore your defenses." Zarak stared in shock as his fleet began to lose control, the overwhelming fear of destruction now very real. The humans had not just outsmarted him, They had made his most powerful weapons useless. And they were doing it with ease. "Commander," came Fleet Admiral Dex's voice, shaky with disbelief. "We're losing control of the fleet. Their technology, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. We can't win this. We need to retreat." Monroe's voice returned to the comms. Her words calm and deadly serious. "You have a choice, Commander. Leave Earth, renew the treaty for another 10,000 years, or face total destruction. The ball is in your court." The silence that followed felt suffocating. Zarak stood frozen, every nerve in his body screaming at him to do something. Anything, to regain control. But deep down, he knew they were outmatched. Outclassed. The battlefield stretched out before them. A vast expanse of silence broken only by the eerie hum of the Kian warships as they floated motionless in space. The human fleet had decimated their formidable enemies. And the tension was palpable. Zorasi's massive form towered over the command deck, his eyes burning with frustration, still reeling from the disintegration of 20 of his warships in a matter of seconds. His mind raced. How could this be possible? How had humanity advanced so quickly? And why had they hidden this technology for so long? A soft, calm voice broke the heavy silence. Admiral Tessa Monroe reappeared on the communication screen. Her face calm, almost serene, despite the devastation she had caused. The look of utter confidence never left her features. And in that moment, it felt as though she were in full control, a master of the situation. While Zarak, despite his grandeur, had been reduced to a cornered beast. "Commander Zarak," Monroe began, her voice almost soothing, but with an unmistakable edge of superiority. "There is no need for more violence. It's not necessary. The war can end here. And all you have to do is accept the truth." Zorasi's 4 eyes glowed with an unnatural intensity. His anger bubbled beneath the surface, his entire being demanding retaliation. Yet something deep in his chest, warned him against underestimating these humans again. "Explain yourself," Zarak growled, his voice resonating through the ship. "How is it possible that you have such technology? Matter phase shift technology? How can you? Monroe's lips curled into a smile that was almost imperceptible, but the weight of it carried through the void of space. "The truth, Commander, is that we humans have spent centuries learning the mysteries of the universe. Studying the fundamental laws that govern all things," she said, her voice unwavering. "We've learned how to manipulate the very fabric of reality itself. We've mastered matter creation, a fundamental breakthrough that allows us to form solid matter from pure energy. That, combined with our understanding of quantum mechanics, gives us an advantage beyond anything you could imagine." Zorasi's mind struggled to process her words. Matter creation? How could they have harnessed such power? The Kian Empire had struggled for millennia to advance its technology. But these humans, these simple creatures from a single solar system, had reached a point of understanding so far beyond their own. It was madness. And yet, the evidence stood before him. Undeniable. Monroe continued, her voice steady, but tinged with the smallest hint of amusement. "We've known for a long time, Commander, that your empire has relied on conquest. It's all you've ever known. But we've learned that true power comes not from control or domination, but from understanding and cooperation. You may have conquered galaxies, but you've never truly created anything of value. You have never reached the depths of knowledge we have." Zarak felt a cold chill run down his spine. Her words stung deeper than any physical weapon could. The Kian Empire had always been obsessed with expansion, with conquering, with power. But now, facing the reality of humanity's potential, Zarak realized that their empire had become stagnant, trapped in an endless cycle of destruction and acquisition. While the humans had reached a place of intellectual and technological enlightenment that made their military might seem trivial. "Enough!" Zarak roared, his voice shaking the walls of the command ship. His massive hands slammed onto the control panel, making the lights flicker. "I will not bow to you. You may have your technologies, but the Kian Empire does not retreat in the face of threats. We conquer. We do not negotiate." Monroe's expression softened, almost like a mother patiently explaining something to an unruly child. "You do not have a choice, Zarak," she said simply. "You will retreat, or your empire will fall. We've studied your weaknesses, and believe me, we have more than enough capability to wipe you out." For the first time, Zarak felt the full weight of her words. The cold dread that had crept into his heart earlier now fully blossomed. What could he do? He had always been a conqueror, a ruler of galaxies. But here, facing the knowledge of the humans, he saw that his empire was a relic. A fragile empire built on the ruins of others. And now, it was at the mercy of a single species. Do not force us to destroy your entire fleet. Monroe's voice echoed across the communication screen. Her tone not unkind, but final. We do not wish to annihilate you. There's still time, but that time is running out. You either accept our offer or face destruction. Zarak stood there, frozen in place, as her words rang in his mind. Retreat, a concept foreign to him. Almost inconceivable, but in that moment, it was the only option left. The Kian Empire, as mighty as it was, had no means of fighting back against the force that these humans had unleashed. And the worst part? He knew she was right. He was not the conqueror now. He was the defeated. Reluctantly, Zarak gave the order. The mighty Kian fleet, once poised for an unstoppable victory, began to retreat. The hum of the engines, once loud and proud, now sounded like a surrender. Zorasi's heart burned with humiliation as his vast fleet, hundreds of warships in formation, slowly turned away from Earth. As the ships turned toward the safety of deep space, Zarak felt a sinking sensation in his chest. This was not victory. It wasn't even a battle. It was a humiliation. The Kian Empire had been bested by a species they once considered primitive. A species they thought would crumble under the weight of their warships and their invincible technology. But now, it was the Kian Empire that was crumbling. Zorasi's mind spun as the vastness of the defeat settled over him. The Kian Empire had been obsessed with conquest, with expansion, with domination. But the humans, they had something else. They had mastery. Mastery of the very fabric of existence itself. The Kian Empire had always relied on power, on fear. But humans had shown him that there was another kind of strength, a strength built on knowledge, innovation, and the pursuit of understanding. Back on the homeworld, the High Council awaited Zorasi's report. Zarak had known this moment would come. His defeat was inevitable. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that something much bigger was at stake. The humans had shown him the reality of his people's stagnation. They had lived in an era of conquest for so long that they had forgotten what it meant to create. The Kian Empire had grown fat on the spoils of war, but it had not advanced. Zarak arrived at the High Council chamber, his steps slow and deliberate. The members of the council sat in solemn silence as he approached, each one's gaze cold and calculating. There was no welcome here, only the weight of expectations. Zarak had failed them. He had failed the Empire. He stood before the council, the weight of his defeat heavy on his shoulders. The humans, Zarak began, his voice strained, have surpassed us, not just in technology, but in understanding. Their innovations have made our entire military superiority meaningless. We are stagnant. A murmur rippled through the council as Zarak continued, his words punctuated by the harshness of the truth. We have spent millennia conquering, but we have not created, we have not advanced as a species. The humans, with their superior knowledge and understanding of the universe, have made us look like a relic of the past. The High Council listened in stunned silence, the weight of Zorasi's words sinking in. The proud Kian Empire, with its legions of warriors and fleets of warships, had been reduced to a shadow of its former self. They had conquered, but they had never truly evolved. I propose a new direction, Zarak said, his voice quieter now, almost contemplative. Instead of focusing on conquest, we must focus on scientific development. We must evolve, as the humans have. We must stop wasting resources on war and dedicate them to research, innovation, and learning. The council members exchanged wary glances, hesitant to entertain the idea. They were conquerors, not creators. To change now, to abandon their legacy, seemed impossible. But Zorasi's words held a certain weight, one they couldn't ignore. We have seen what lies ahead, Zarak continued, his voice steady now. If we continue down this path, we will die. The humans have forced us to confront the truth. The time for conquest is over. It's time for us to evolve. The council remained silent for a long moment. Then, Councillor Vexar, the oldest and wisest of the Kian, spoke. This will be difficult. It will face resistance. But you are right, Zarak. We must change. For the sake of our people. We must learn. The decision was made. The Qian Empire would change its path. It would focus on knowledge and cooperation, following the example of the humans. It was a painful, humbling decision, but it was the only way forward. Just as the decision was made, Dr. Jackson Webb, a human envoy, arrived. With him, he carried a small device, one that would change everything. The device contained the entirety of humanity's technological and scientific achievements, from the wheel to quantum mechanics, everything they had learned in their short existence. And with it, the Qian Empire would have the key to its future. It was a new beginning. But for Zarak, it was a bitter pill to swallow. He had been defeated, humiliated, and yet, it was the only way forward. And perhaps, just perhaps, the Qian Empire would learn to create once again. The cold silence of space weighed heavily on the Qian fleet as it floated. Defeated, away from Earth, Zarak, still shaken from the battle and the unexpected revelation of humanity's overwhelming technological power, sat in his command chair, lost in thought. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to make sense of it all. He had been bested, outmaneuvered, and forced into retreat by a species he had once believed to be insignificant. The Qian Empire, his empire, had been humbled by humanity. But this was not the time for lingering on humiliation. The humans had made it clear. There was more at stake than just their rivalry. An even greater threat was out there, one that neither the Qian Empire nor humanity could face alone. Dr. Jackson Webb, the human envoy, entered the bridge with a quiet confidence, holding a small device in his hand. The device, no larger than a Qian data crystal, pulsed with a soft blue light, as if it were alive. Zarak turned his attention to him, his massive form looming over the smaller human. "You've done it," Zarak rumbled, his voice a deep vibration that reverberated throughout the room. "You've won this battle, but why are you here now? What more could you possibly want?" Webb met Zorasi's gaze without flinching. His expression was calm, almost serene, but there was a glimmer of something more in his eyes, something ancient. Wise. He stepped forward, placing the device on the table before Zarak, allowing the Qian commander to study it. "We came to offer you something," Webb said softly. "The truth of the matter is, Commander, the war with humanity was never the real conflict. The Qian Empire's future isn't bound to what happened here. You've been fighting the wrong battle for millennia. There is something much greater out there. Something both of our species must face together." Zorasi's interest piqued, but he remained silent, his 4 eyes narrowing, his heart racing with curiosity and skepticism. Dr. Webb continued, "You've heard the warnings. Admiral Monroe has spoken of the existential threats that lie beyond your understanding. She wasn't just trying to manipulate you into submission. There are ancient forces in the universe, forces far older than the Qian Empire. Older than even humanity. These forces are gathering, and they are watching us." Zorasi's eyes flicked to the transmission that had played earlier. To Monroe's knowing smile, her certainty. He had dismissed her words as arrogance. But now, in the silence of the bridge, he began to wonder if they were true. Could there really be a greater threat that both their species were unaware of? Webb's voice dropped lower, becoming even more grave. "These forces are not just destructive. They are a threat to all life in the galaxy, humans, Qians, and every other species caught in their path. They are ancient, their motives inscrutable, and their power is unimaginable. If we do not act together, we risk everything. Your empire, your people, all of it." Zarak felt a chill run down his spine. And for the first time in centuries, he questioned everything he had known about the universe. The vastness of space had always felt so predictable, a place where the strong prevailed. But now, a deeper fear crept in. This was a fear that not even the mightiest fleet could conquer. Dr. Webb stepped back, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the room. "This device contains centuries of human knowledge, our technological breakthroughs, our scientific advancements, our understanding of the universe. All of it, ready for you. But there is one condition." He paused, his gaze steady. "You, the Qian Empire, must abandon your conquest mindset. You must evolve. If you wish to be true partners with humanity, you must be willing to change. We can no longer live in a galaxy of conquerors and conquered." Zarak recoiled slightly, the idea of abandoning the Qian Empire's millennia-old philosophy of conquest feeling like a deep wound to his pride. Change. That was the one thing he had never considered. The Qian Empire had built its power on the ruins of others. It had spread its influence through force. The very idea of evolving into something that valued cooperation over domination seemed foreign, impossible. But as the blue light of the device shimmered in front of him, Zarak realized something else. The humans, these insignificant beings from a tiny corner of the galaxy, had done what the Qian Empire could not. They had advanced beyond their biological limits. They had built civilizations not on the bones of the defeated but on knowledge, collaboration, and the pursuit of discovery. They had mastered the most complex forces in the universe. And they were offering him the keys to that knowledge. Dr. Webb continued, "This device will unlock everything we know about energy, quantum mechanics, medicine, and matter creation. We've mapped the stars and explored the depths of science in ways that your empire has never even dreamed of. But to access it fully, you must embrace change. You must abandon the pursuit of endless conquest and build a future with us." Zarak stood still, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the weight of his decision pressing down on him. Could he really let go of everything the Qian Empire had fought for? The very essence of his being, the drive for power, for control, had always been rooted in conquest. But the humans had shown him something he could no longer ignore. There was a new path. One where knowledge, not power, reigned supreme. Zarak turned his eyes back to Webb, his gaze more focused now. "What will happen if we do not change?" he asked, his voice softer, the anger slowly dissipating. "If you do not change," Webb replied quietly, "you will continue to face defeat. As you did today. The universe is shifting. The old ways, conquest, domination, they don't work anymore. If you continue to ignore that, you will find yourselves irrelevant, forgotten by the stars. Humanity will move on without you. And the greater threat that's coming will tear us all apart. But if we work together, we can overcome it." Zorisi's mind reeled. The choice was clear, but it was not an easy one. Could the Qian Empire evolve? Could he, as its supreme commander, abandon the legacy of centuries? Monroe's earlier words echoed in his mind. The universe is changing. Zarak, either evolve with it, or be left behind. As the weight of the decision settled over him, Zarak felt a strange sense of clarity. The path before him was uncertain, but it was the only path that could lead to survival, not just for the Qian Empire, but for the galaxy itself. Zarak stood on the balcony of his flagship, staring into the vast void of space. The stars glittered coldly, distant and uncaring, as if they were oblivious to the monumental shift occurring in the heart of the Qian Empire. Beside him stood Dr. Jackson Webb, the human envoy, watching the same stars with a quiet understanding. The decision had been made. The Qian Empire would change. It would evolve. And Zarak, for the first time in his long life, felt a stirring of hope, strange, unfamiliar, yet undeniable. "What happens now?" Zarak asked, his voice quiet, almost pensive. "We begin," Webb replied simply. "We work together. We share knowledge. We build a future, not of conquest, but of collaboration. The threats out there are too great for us to face alone. Together, we have the strength to overcome them." Zarak nodded slowly, his mind racing with the possibilities. The path ahead was uncertain, but it was a path forward. One where the Qian Empire could learn, could grow, and could stand as equals with humanity. The final shot lingered on Zorisi's face. His 4 eyes filled with a new sense of purpose as he looked toward the future. A future where the Qian Empire and humanity would stand together, facing the unknown threats of the galaxy. Together, they would evolve, and together, they would survive. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share with your fellow truth seekers. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and above all, stay ready for the unknown. Who knows what we'll uncover next? The final shot lingered on Zorisi's face, his 4 eyes filled with a new sense of purpose as he looked toward the future. A future where the Qian Empire and humanity would stand together, facing the unknown threats of the galaxy. Together, they would evolve, and together, they would survive.